champions. Today we're checking out an amp that I've owned for a while, but I haven't reviewed. Actually, I forgot about it because, you know, I have a lot of car audio stuff sitting around. So we're going to go ahead and dyno this. Now, they did come out with a newer version of this, which we'll talk about in a minute. So even though this model is not currently available, the replacement is. That's very similar. So this should give you a good idea, but we're going to go ahead and check this out. It's the Incriminator Audio IA30.1 Reserve. And this amplifier is rated at 4,000 at 1 ohm, 2,000 at 2 ohm, and 1,000 at 4 ohm. So what makes this amp quite different, for one, it is heavy duty. It weighs almost 30 pounds. So it has a small footprint, but it is thick. Let me get the tape measure. Alright, so as you can see, it is 5.5 inches thick. So make sure you have the room for it. The footprint is small or smallish. It's about 10 by 13 with the mounting tabs. So it's pretty compact if you have the room for the depth of it. Also keep in mind, these style Incriminator amps are heavy. At 30 pounds, you need to have a secure mounting board if you're going to mount them up and down and not lay them flat. So keep that in mind. So they do come with an all-metal bass knob with power and clipping indicator. So you get a nice bass knob. You get a harness. They don't describe this much at all in the manual, so hopefully they'll change that. They give you a separate harness with a little schematic that shows that you can connect. The positive is yellow, the negative is green, the protect is gray, and the protect negative is purple. So I think this is if you want to wire, if you can want to wire your own separate power and protect indicator to like an LED or something. I mean, you have one in the bass knob, but I'm assuming that's what this is for, but not really many instructions on what that does or how you wire it up. But let's go. Oh my gosh, this thing is a beast. So on this side, we got a really cool blue voltage LED indicator. We have an active fan, 2 1-aught inputs for powers and ground, gain, subsonic, master, slave, and mirror. These are totally strappable. And your low pass filter and your remote input. Now these have 3 fans inside. So since the boards are stacked on top of each other, it's essentially an amp split in half, and they stacked one board up top and one board on bottom. So you have a fan on the bottom also, and on each side. So you have airflow all around, even on the back of the board, which is nice. Man, this thing is so heavy. I can barely move it with one hand. So in this end, we have another large fan, and then 2 huge, those are like 4-gauge speaker outs, or 8-gauge speaker outs. I believe they're 4-gauge. Lots of cooling. This thing is like one big giant aluminum heat sink. Very cool amplifier. I had bought this because I really liked that it was so different, and I liked how it had the voltmeter built in. Just really nice looking amplifier. But unfortunately it was a little too thick. It was thicker than I thought. So where I have it mounted in my truck, it was too thick, and it kind of got in the way of my lower hatch opening up, so I didn't end up actually using it. But really cool amp, so let's go ahead and get it hooked up on the dyno. But first, let me show you the differences of the newer model that came out right now. I'll show you it up on the screen. So here's this amp, the IA30.1, and then the new amp, which replaced this one, the IX4.1. As you can see, they're almost identical. The newer model is only 1/2 inches longer. The efficiency is a little bit different, and the signal to noise ratio is slightly different, but that's all it looks like to me the difference is. Alright guys, I just wanted to show you the voltmeter on the side, what it looks like. And the bass knob. Look at that. That little light, power light's like a laser beam. Anyway, very cool. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, let's go ahead and get started with the 4 ohm test. We're looking for 1,000 watts at 4 ohm. And I'll put all the ratings and efficiencies at the end on a chart for you guys as always. Alright, so we definitely did over the 1,000 watts, 1482 at 1 ohm uncertified. Efficiency looks really good too. So very cool. Let's go ahead and do dynamic burst 4 ohm. Four ohm dynamic is ready. Here we go. $16.89. Very, very good. You know what I like about this amp too? These fans are quiet. You can't even hear them. That's the dyno fan you're hearing right there, but so I guess that didn't do any good, but alright, 2 ohm test. We're looking for 2,000 watts. I mean, I know we're going to do it. This is an Incriminator audio amp, so. And there we go. We already did it. 2735 at 2 ohm. Uncertified. So this thing's doing way over ratings. This is why I think they basically have this same amp, but they revised it to the model number as a 4K, because this is probably way under rated as a 3K. So I think that's what they did. Don't quote me on it, but they updated it a little bit, but mainly they almost named it a 4K because it looks like this amp is basically going to be a 4K. Or more, so I'm sure that's what they did. So this should give you a good idea what that newer model amp is going to do. 2 ohm dynamic burst. $3,005 watts dynamic. Nice. And only drew 263 amps. Alright guys, here we go. This amp has done awesome so far, which doesn't surprise me. Let's go ahead and do the 1 ohm test. We're looking for 4K. And I know it's going to do 4K. It's just how much over 4K. Nice. 4,405 watts uncertified at 1 ohm. So makes sense that they kind of came out with this model and named it a 4K, because it even does over 4K. So very awesome amplifier, man. Well, let's go ahead and try dynamic. See what this thing can do dynamically. Alright, here we go. 1 ohm dynamic burst. Sweet.
Oh yeah.
5423 dynamic at 1 ohm. Efficiency looks really good at 1 ohm too, dynamically. Alright guys, final thoughts? Alright, so here's the final result sheet with all the results on it. As you can see, it did more than rated on every run, and the efficiency is very good on this amplifier. Also notice how close certified power is to uncertified. That means all the way up basically to clipping, it's putting out clean power. Some amps will do a lot more on certified than they do certified because they hit distortion way earlier. So really good amplifier. This should provide really quality sound for sure. Alright, well let's go ahead and get the back off this thing. I know we're not going to be able to see everything because it's like a dual layer board, but we'll get the back off and see what we can see. Alright, so here is with the back off, and I also took the side cover off so we can kind of see inside. But this thing is definitely built to last, I'll tell you that. So these are a little bit pricey, but man, if you do competitions and you just abuse your stuff, if you're like one of those bass heads, might be worth the money, because man, these things are built like a tank. And we'll go ahead and show you a side view to kind of see what's down in besides the second board right there. So that's what the split force is. Basically, it's a split board stacked on top of each other. Alright, let me try to get the camera down in here. Samoa caps too. Okay, let me try to get the camera down in here and see if we can see what's down inside there. Okay, and that's why this thing weighs almost 30 pounds, guys. Look at how thick the case is. That is over an inch thick aluminum on the sides, and it goes up to like ½ inch thick. So this thing is a massive heat sink. Then, down under there, see that plate? That's another aluminum heat sink plate. It's kind of hard to see down in there, but there's a lot going on. But really different amplifier. And there is a fan down in the middle there too. So you get the fan on each end. And you also get the fan down in the middle. Really cool amplifier. It's different, that's for sure. Alright guys, well what do you think? Pretty awesome amp. It's cool that Incriminator did something that's different with stacking the boards, splitting the boards and stacking them like that. And man, this thing did not even get warm, so this giant heat sink of a case and the cooling fans was definitely working. Now the newer model of this is the iX4.1. And again, I think that they revised this because this is basically a 4K. And they kind of named this as a 3K. But they did some other updates too. I'm not sure exactly what they did, but like we saw in the specs before, they're pretty close. So this should give you a good idea of what the new iX4.1 is going to do. But really cool amplifier. If you have the depth to use this thing, and you can mount it on a sturdy surface because it is heavy, it is an awesome amplifier. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you could hit that subscribe button, it would really help me out. And until next time,